Right, good evening and welcome to Fun with Flags with Heather. So, I wanted to speak to you today not so much about language but about culture, because there are two very important days celebrated or commemorated in April for some English-speaking countries. So the first one is Anzac Day. Anzac Day is the 25th of April, and Anzac stands for ANZAC, Australia and New Zealand Army Corps. So it's a remembrance day, a day on which Aussies and Kiwis get together and remember and pay tribute to all those who have died fighting for their country and for freedom. So why the 25th of April? Well, because this is the day that the Anzac forces landed in Gallipoli, and the objective of the Gallipoli battle was in 1915 to win back or to take back control of Constantinople, which is today known as Istanbul. So the generals thought this would be a very easy battle and it wouldn't be too bloody. But as usual, the people in charge got it wrong. And in fact, it ended up being a stalemate. So this is a chessboard, slightly original one, and a stalemate is a term from chess. Stalemate is when both kings are in a delicate position and nobody can move, because whoever moves will have their king taken first. So it was a bit of a deadlock in Gallipoli, and the battle raged on for 8 months. And at the end of the 8 months, 10,000 Anzac soldiers had lost their lives. So on Anzac Day, Australians and New Zealanders wake up really early and often have a dawn service where they read poems, read extracts from letters written by soldiers from the front, and they sing the anthem and they raise their flag and have a moment of silence to think of those who have died. There's another funny little story to do with Anzac Day, which is the Anzac biscuit. So Anzac biscuits are Australian and New Zealand biscuits, which are made with rolled oats and honey and coconut. And the legend has it that the women baked these biscuits and then they sent them off to their husbands, sons, lovers, brothers on the front. And because these biscuits don't go off, they can travel and last quite a long time, they arrived safely and the boys fighting enjoyed them and had a little taste of home. So the second day that I wanted to talk to you about, and of course there is no logical reason why this flag is so much bigger, that's the right way around, right, is the 27th of April. Today is Freedom Day in South Africa. So Freedom Day is the day that the first democratic elections were held in South Africa. So this took place on the 27th of April 1994, after more than 48 years of segregation in which the minority kept control over the majority. The minority white group kept control. And on this day in 1994, more than 20 million people turned out to vote, often standing in lines for hours and hours, just because they were so happy to finally be able to practice their democratic right and vote. So in these elections in 1994, the ANC won a 62% majority, and so a few weeks later, on the 10th of May 1994, Nelson Mandela was sworn in as the first democratically elected President of South Africa. And we all remember this very important moment. So that's today, and in South Africa today, probably a lot of people are having braais, which is a South African version of a barbecue, but of course better because it's South African, and eating maybe malva pudding. And the last thing that I wanted to say was that all of these countries belong to the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth is a regrouping of countries, and it's become today more like an economic union of countries, a bit like the European Union. It's an economic trade agreement. But for certain countries like Australia, Canada and New Zealand, the Queen remains the head of the state if you're part of the Commonwealth. But this is not the case for South Africa, because South Africa left the Commonwealth in 1961, and then when they rejoined, they said, no, we're keeping our sovereignty and we do not want the Queen as the head of our state. So in Australia, New Zealand and in Canada, the Queen often appears on their money, and she is the head of the state and has a Governor-General who represents her in that country. But the role is mainly honorary, and the Queen doesn't really have much power in those countries. Anyway, so we all need a bit of freedom. on this Freedom Day. So enjoy your evening, and I will speak to you tomorrow.